Welcome everyone to our today's presentation. I am your host, Chris Jackson, and with me is Josh Thompson. Today we're talking about a very relevant topic, the coronavirus relief bill that was recently passed in Congress. It's going to affect a lot of business owners, and we're excited to share some of this breaking information with you that's going to be relevant to your business in this next tax year and when the time that we're in right now. So we're going to go ahead and start. Just before that, I wanted to remind you, I'm Chris Jackson. I work with Cambridge Financial Group, and I help businesses and individuals with risk management, retirement planning, helping them insure their business and protect what matters most. And with me is Josh Thompson. Josh, you want to share a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, happily. Try not to talk too long, but Joshua Thompson, I own Thompson Tax Group, but we really help businesses with the tax preparation, but more so on the tax planning side of things, working with them throughout the year, putting into place tax strategies, tax structures to really help them out, keep more money basically in the business. Is kind of a little bit about us. And like Chris was saying earlier, it's Veteran Education Series. We're veterans giving back to veterans or anyone else that's just looking for some free information. We're here to kind of give it for you guys.
Yeah, for sure. And if this is your first time with us, right, we're going to be doing segments on various topics and just giving some relevant information to business owners. So feel free to write down in the chat. We're going to be monitoring live the chat box on this presentation that we're doing. And so if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us either during or after the event. So with that, let's go right into it, Josh. So first question is there a second round of PPP funding and can I receive it?
Yeah, let's dive right into it. So there is a second round of PPP. And if you're long as you're eligible for it, you can receive the second round of PPP. And there's also, they actually allocated some funds set aside for anyone that didn't receive the first round of PPP. And you can receive the first round of PPP. They started that yesterday, January 11th, at the time of us filming this. And then if you want to receive the second round, they're actually starting that tomorrow, January 13th, where they'll open that up. I've noticed a lot of banks are really trying to cater to the clients that they currently have rather than new clients in that area, but it is starting to open up and you could qualify for it. To be eligible for the first time, if this is your first time going after it, to be eligible, you need 500 or less full-time or equivalent employees. You need to have been impacted by COVID in some way, some shape or form. You need to have a business, obviously. You could be a sole proprietor or independent contractor. A lot of people don't know that, but they actually can qualify for the PPP loan as well. And then your business has to be in business before February 15th, 2020 to qualify for both of these loans. And then the second one, if this is your second time going after it, really this time around, they changed the number around. You need 300 or less full-time or equivalent employees, and you need to completely use or exhausted your first round draw, or at least have plans to fully exhaust it. Then they have the loan application open until March 31st, 2021. You need to prove that you had a 25% reduction in gross revenue compared to 2019 quarter, meaning that if you in quarter 3, 2019, you had $10,000, and then quarter 3, 2020, you had $7,500, then you have a 25% reduction in revenue and you could qualify for the PPP loan. And they threw a little caveat in there as well that most people don't know is you cannot have received the first round of PPP funding in the last 90 days, which honestly, I don't think that's going to be a problem for anyone because they closed that back in August 8th, I think it was 2020. That kind of talks a little bit about the eligibility and the second and first round of it, Chris.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think that's something that maybe people didn't realize that, you had to have that business for a longer period of time. People that may be starting their business may have thought it is a great opportunity to kind of accelerate their business, but I see the government is trying to work around people just starting a business to get free money out of the government. So that makes a lot of sense. So yeah, okay, awesome. Well, next question we got here is, what are the changes in the second round of funding?
Yeah, so they made some changes last year that a lot of you guys probably know about to the first round of funding. A lot of those carry over to the second round of funding, and some of those being, it's now 60-40, meaning 60% of the funds that you receive need to go towards payroll costs, and then 40% of those can go towards non-payroll costs. Now you ask, really at the end of the day, what is considered payroll cost? Payroll cost includes payroll. Now it includes health insurance, retirement contributions, group life insurance, disability, vision and dental insurance, and all those kind of go into payroll costs. If you're a sole proprietor or independent contractor, it's a little bit different for you what is included and what not is included. But if you kind of want more information about that, you can reach out to me. I'll happily explain that for you guys. And then in non-payroll costs, what's included is rent, utilities, interest, payments on certain items, similar stuff to in the first PPP loan, but now they also include operation expenses. So for example, if you have accounting software you need to continue operations, that's included in non-payroll costs, and also property damages, supplier costs, and PPE for your workers. If you needed to get plexiglass or mask or anything like that, COVID related, to protect your workers, that is now included as well. Some of the other thing is the forgiveness expenses are now tax deductible, which is like a hallelujah to a lot of businesses out there, because now they basically get the double benefit. You get the government paying for these expenses, and now you can also take these expenses on your tax return and take a deduction on there. So that's the one thing that they changed. The max loan is $2 million. You're maxing out at that point. They also included a quick loan forgiveness application for anyone that has a loan out of less than $150,000. It's right now they say, and we'll see if that changes, that the forgiveness application is one page. You just submit it, and they should be able to forgive your loan a lot quicker than anything above the $150,000 mark. And then you can now use the employee retention credit with the PPP loan, and we'll talk a little bit about that, getting more into it. But it's icing on the cake, giving that one plus now the PPP expenses are tax deductible.
Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense. You wouldn't want to pay taxes. I mean, the government does what they want to do, but I mean, to say you're getting the money from the government, why would you pay taxes on government money? It's kind of like when I was in college and I qualified for a Pell Grant, I didn't have to pay taxes on that because that was a government benefit, right?
Yeah.
So that's something that I think should have been done from the beginning. So I'm glad that they fixed that for all those small businesses.
Yeah.
So the next thing is, what is the employee retention tax credit? And
yeah, so this is the big one. This is one that a lot of people are kind of glossing over. People are like, PPP loan this, PPP loan that, but really I think it's the employee retention tax credit that should be piquing more people's interest. And what it is, it's basically you get a benefit, you get a tax credit, hence the name, for wages that you pay during certain quarters. And it got split into three sections. You got section 206 that involves if you're eligible for 2020, section 207 if you're eligible for 2021. And there's another section, but it won't really apply to anyone. It's based on disaster effects and items like that. But if you're eligible for the 2020 section 206, you have to either have one or two tests passed. Your first test has to be, was your business suspended due to government orders for at least one quarter? If you pass that test, then you're eligible. The second test is, if you don't qualify based on the first test, is your gross receipts dropped by at least 50% in a quarter compared to the same quarter in 2019. So similar to if you had $10,000 in quarter 3 2019, and now all of a sudden you have $5,000 in quarter 3 or the same quarter in 2020, then you could qualify for it. The benefits of it for this 2021 section 206 is the tax credit is now 50% of the wages you paid to a worker up to $10,000 annually. So basically, per worker that you pay, say, $40,000 a year, you can take $5,000 tax credit. And what that math comes from is $10,000 that it limits you plus 50% of that $5,000 tax credit, which is a dollar for dollar reduction in your tax, which is great. Now, the second one, the Section 207, which is for 2021, this is only available for quarter one and quarter two of 2021. And it also has two tests. The first test being the exactly same. Businesses have been suspended due to government orders, government shutdown, so your business was suspended. If you don't qualify in that, then you can qualify the second way, which is not as hard as the first one, which is gross receipts now have to drop by at least 20% in a quarter compared to that same quarter in 2019 or 2020. It's up to you which quarter you want to compare it to, but it's not as bad as the 50% in the 2020 Section 206. Now it's only 20% if you want to use it in 2021. And they also changed the credit where now it's 70% of wages that you paid up to $10,000 per quarter. So it's not annual anymore, it's per quarter. So if you pay an employee $10,000 in Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, or Q1 and Q2, basically, you could qualify for this tax credit and take 70% of that each quarter. So that's one of the biggest things, that, and now you can take this and the PPP at the same time. I think that's the best thing, really, and employers can request an advancement on this credit. Now time to take a breath.
That's interesting. So one thing I'm gonna ask, knowing that, is, so let's say a business has seen a reduction in its revenue from last year, but let's say they've added since then, they've tried, what if they wanted to add another employee to be able to get that benefit? Can they do that? So maybe they take more weight off. Maybe they've been working 80 to 100 hours a week and they want to get an employee and then get that deduction for that employee. Can they do that even though they didn't have that employee last year?
They can definitely do that as long as you qualify. You had those, you're suspended, or you had the 50% or 20%, depending on when you're qualifying for reduction in revenue. If you want to hire that new employee and get this credit, it's a good way to maybe hire a child to come work for you for a little bit, push some of the income shifting, some of the tax planning we do, income shift to their tax bracket, and then maybe you can qualify for the credit as well. So it's almost like you're double dipping again, but in this case, you're using some tax planning rather than just letting it happen to you and being reactive or being proactive. So that's one thing that, a little tip that you guys could use as well.
Yeah, that's great. Awesome. So let's go with the next question is, are there any other changes for the new bill that will affect business owners?
Yeah, there's a ton of small things here and there that they change, and I'll kind of just rifle off a bunch of them for you guys just to kind of know. And if you want me to expand on them or ask about them, just feel free to reach out to me. I'll happily talk to you guys about them. But for those of you guys that know, and I won't dive too much into it, the paid sick and family leave credit was extended to March 31st, 2021, which is basically a dollar for dollar credit for wages as well, kind of similar to that employee retention credit, but just in a different way. And business meals for 2021 and 2022 are now 100% deductible. Again, they used to be just 50% deductible, but now that's 100% deductible. And they really did that to support restaurants, because if you want that 100% deduction, you have to spend that money on a restaurant. It can't be, hey, I went to the grocery store and bought food that I made for my workers. It has to be, hey, I went to Mastro Steakhouse, whatever it may be, if you're balling, and you go buy a steak, and then now that steak is 100% deductible where it wasn't before. And then now your deferred payroll tax extension date was pushed back to May 1st, 2021. They came out with a new grant for shuttered venue operators, anyone that has live venues, theater performances, live performing arts, museum operators, motion picture talent representatives. They came out with a grant for them to help them out. Unemployment got continued through March 14th, 2021 at $300 each week. The charitable deductions, that's a benefit. It used to be $300 per return. Now it's $300 per person. So even if you're using a standard deduction, you could take a $300 per person charitable contribution in cash up to $600 if you're married, filing jointly. So that's a new deduction available. Student loan deferrals in January 31st, 2021. And lastly, if you have an FSA account, you can now carry those funds forward to 2021 and 2022. So those are kind of the quick tips and quick things that have changed in this bill. I think the one that a lot of people are going to enjoy is the 100% deduction for meals is going to help, and that paid sick and family leave is probably going to help a large majority of businesses as well for that dollar for dollar credit for their taxes.
Fantastic. And one thing we wanted to share is that we are trying to do these short and concise, so we're going to wrap it up here now. So if you have any questions, please leave in the chat box below, and we will get back to you with some more information about the details of your personal business. But to finish off, Josh, do you have any final thoughts regarding this new stimulus package that's been released?
The only last thoughts I would say is make sure you're eligible before you throw in an application. Because a lot of these things, the SBA, a lot of other areas, they're just approving applications, not necessarily knowing if you're 100% eligible or not. I've seen some businesses that put in an application not knowing if they're eligible to get it. They got the money, and then when they went to apply for forgiveness, none of it was forgiven. Now they have a loan on their books and they're trying to pay it off. So just know it. Make sure you qualify for it. Check your sources. Don't just go out there and blindly just say, hey, if I don't qualify, they won't give me the money, because they may make a mistake. It's the government. Let's be honest. They'll probably give you the money on accident.
Yeah, you don't want to be in this situation where you're getting the IRS calling you saying you owe back $150,000 worth of
Never fun.
forgiveness loan. So great advice, Josh, and thanks for sharing this information with us today. We look forward to talking to you soon, and have a great rest of your day. Thanks.
Definitely, Chris. Appreciate it, man.
Take care.